My name is Evelyn Rowe, and I'm 31 years old. I met Jasper Wynn at a friend's housewarming where everything smelled like eucalyptus and lemon cake. He was barefoot by choice and gorgeous by accident, the kind of man who said energy the way accountants say audit. I'm an accountant, the boring kind, if you ask Instagram, and he sold crystals on Etsy, taught yoga part-time, and could identify star constellations with an accuracy that made strangers forgive the rest. Opposites don't just attract, they negotiate. Jasper coaxed me into downward dog. I coaxed his receipts into spreadsheets. We moved in at 14 months, a compromise between his belief in destiny and my belief in lease cycles. That's when the universe started itemizing. First, Jasper quit the studio because the owner had toxic energy. I covered rent for a month while he detoxed. Then came the $2,000 crystal healing certification, the $1,500 sacred geometry workshop, a breathwork intensive that was somehow also a silent retreat with a curated photo package. Each expense came with a promise. Once I'm certified, I'll contribute. The promises floated like incense smoke, visible, fragrant, and gone. 8 months ago, he discovered Zephyr, a villa in Bali, a jawline in every story, and captions about abundance mindsets and twin flames. Zephyr, whose real name I'd later learn was Kyle Morrison of Ohio, live-streamed dawn meditations from a deck that looked suspiciously like stock photos. Jasper watched all of it like it was oxygen, which, to be fair, I had been paying for. Then Jasper announced his calling, a 3-month spiritual awakening retreat at Zephyr's Healing Center, $15,000, not including flights. I laughed. He didn't. This is why you'll never understand abundance, he said softly, the way cult documentaries warn you about. You're blocked by scarcity mindset. If you love me, you'd invest in my spiritual growth. We argued for the length of a mortgage grace period. He sent testimonials to my inbox like invoices. His friend Moonbeam, yes, legally changed in 2018, called to explain her Peru ayahuasca journey, funded by her boyfriend, had made them cosmically bonded. Jasper started dropping words like destiny tax and karmic ROI as if the IRS accepted them. The manipulation calcified into a thesis. I'm disconnected. The retreat will make me the partner you deserve. Don't you want me happy? By week 8, my patients had blisters. I set my coffee down and smiled the way surgeons do before they cut. Your inner peace is my priority, I told him. He squealed. Actually squealed. Booked a non-refundable deposit within the hour. Bought $800 of retreat wear on my credit card because linen apparently costs as much as forgiveness. He started a blog, Jasper Ascending, to document his transformation. He posted a wrist tattoo of Zephyr's symbol with a caption about initiation. While he cleansed, I researched. Zephyr. Real name, Kyle Morrison, Ohio. Healing Center, not owned by him. He rented bunks at a hostel. Sacred ceremonies, beach yoga plus ramen. Reviews, stranded, scammed, ghosted. I made a folder, screenshots, receipts, a few choice PDFs. Then I did something I hadn't planned to do. I looked through Jasper's laptop backup. I found the DMs. There he was, messaging Zephyr/Kyle things that weren't about chakras and sending photos that weren't about sun salutations. And tucked among those threads were messages to Brielle, his ex-girlfriend, written in the same floaty font of entitlement. Current situation is temporary until I manifest true reality. She's stable, but not aligned. Maybe someday, followed by a heart. I stared at the screen until the cursor blinked like a pulse, too fast to be healthy. Jasper came home glowing from a sound bath and kissed my forehead. The universe always provides, he whispered. I know, I said, and tasted the new truth of it. I am the universe. He floated through the week doing pre-retreat cleanses in our apartment that I rented, posting 12 stories about releasing what no longer serves while sitting on furniture I'd financed. On departure morning, he wore linen and a radiant smile. I drove him to the airport, carried his overpriced suitcase, and tucked $500 emergency cash into his passport holder like a saint in a parable. When I come back, he murmured at the curb, I'll teach you about authentic living. Can't wait, I said. I hugged him, felt his ribs against mine, and let go. 16 hours later, his plane cut a clean line across a map, and I began. I called the landlord. Lease in my name, Ishol, locks changed by noon. $150 for new keys. I boxed every crystal, every sage bundle, every notebook titled Manifestation Journal, as if intention had to be branded. In a shoebox under the bed, I found a credit card opened with my social security number. In his messages, a list of my belongings sold on Marketplace, my watch, my signed baseball, my old laptop. About $3,000, itemized like confession. At the bottom of a drawer, a spiral notebook labeled Post-Bali Plan. He'd written it in a round, dreamy hand. Return transformed. Launch a wellness center. E-funds startup. Phase E, out when profitable. E, avoids conflict. Will sign whatever. Divorce later if needed. Half the assets. E, not Evelyn, not Eve. Just an initial, less a woman than a placeholder. I taped the last box and slid it into storage. On his pillow, I left a single sheet. If you love someone, let them go. Thich Nhat Hanh, P.S. Your belongings are in the building storage. Your retreat is now permanent. Namaste. Then I blocked him on everything, put the keys on my own ring, and texted my friend Marina to meet me for a beer. She bought the first round, clinked my glass, and said, "Welcome back to gravity." By the time I got home, my phone was a chandelier of missed calls from unfamiliar numbers, 73 in 24 hours. I turned it face down and slept like someone who had finally stopped being the universe. Tomorrow he'd discover Bali. Tomorrow he'd discover me. Jasper's flight had barely landed before my phone began buzzing with blocked numbers and unfamiliar country codes. By the fourth ring, I'd set my ringtone to silence and poured myself coffee in peace for the first time in 2 years. At noon, an email arrived. Subject: spiritual abuse and legal boundaries. Sender: Jasper Wynn, via VPN from Bali. Eve, this isn't enlightenment, it's betrayal. You have disrupted my sacred journey and violated our spiritual contract. The universe will not forgive interference with divine timing. Also, I'm legally entitled to support because we're common law married. We weren't. I checked again. No state recognizes yoga vows performed over incense. Then came the invoice. Yes, an actual attached PDF titled Energetic Compensation Request. Emotional damages, $10,000. Breach of relationship contract, $15,000. Theft of spiritual property, $5,000. Return flight, $2,000. Total, $32,000. He had CC'd someone named Amaranth Light Esquire, whose Instagram bio proudly read Reiki Master and Spiritual Legal Advisor. I laughed so hard I spilled my coffee. But the situation got stranger. That evening, my building manager called. Ms. Rowe? There's a group of people in the lobby chanting about purging toxic masculine energy. They're burning sage. Moonbeam and company had shown up, staging a healing circle with drums, incense, and 3 barefoot accomplices. The cops asked if they were high. Moonbeam replied solemnly, only on cosmic truth. They were trespassed. By day 3, Jasper's blog, Jasper Ascending, had shifted tone from transcendence to tantrum. Some souls fear our light so much they try to dim it with locks and earthly laws. Pray for them, especially Eve, whose scarcity demon is strong. Each post was hashtagged #spiritual abuse, #ascension blocked. The comments were wild. Half his followers sending heart emojis, the other half asking why his ex was posting screenshots of fraudulent credit cards. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't have to. Receipts speak fluent karma. By the end of week 1, Jasper was couch surfing in Bali with a group of Australian tourists he'd met at a beach bar. They posted cheerful selfies until one caption vanished and another appeared. Can anyone help? Our guest tried to borrow a passport because he was drawn to its energy. They kicked him out. Then came a string of desperate emails. I made mistakes. I'm scared. I need help. I can't keep doing this alone. The hostel locked me out. If you ever loved me, please wire $1,000 for a flight change. For a moment, guilt prickled. Then I opened my financial dashboard and saw the unpaid bills, the fake credit card, the line that read $15,000, Zephyr's Awakening Retreat. He hadn't been scammed. He'd been auditioning for it. 3 days later, an envelope arrived at my office. No return address, just a wax seal stamped with the Zephyr logo. Inside, a letter handwritten on parchment paper. I release you with love, but your karmic debt remains. You must balance the scales with $32,000 to restore energetic alignment. It ended with a doodle of a crystal and the words namaste in advance. My coworker peeked over my shoulder. Is this fan mail or a ransom note? Somewhere in between, I said. That night, I opened my laptop and started building a digital folder titled The Case of Jasper Wynn, subfolders labeled Credit Fraud, Property Theft, Bali Scam, and Moonbeam Incident. Screenshots, bank statements, email chains, everything. I uploaded backups to the cloud. It was the first time in a long while I felt safe. When I went to bed, I dreamt of stillness. No gongs, no affirmations, no guilt disguised as growth, just silence. The next morning, I woke up to another batch of missed calls from Indonesia and smiled. Let him keep manifesting. The universe had finally provided something for me. Peace, locked and key changed. By the second week, the silence on my end must have started sounding like judgment on his. That's when the tone of Jasper's emails changed from divine outrage to desperate logistics. Eve, I need help. Zephyr isn't who he said he was. The retreat is a scam. I have nowhere to go. Please, don't do this. Attached was a selfie. Jasper sitting on a twin bunk, hair slicked to his forehead. The luxury eco lodge, revealed to be a hostel with mismatched sheets and a single flickering fan. So the universe had downsized. The stories coming out of Bali trickled onto social media. People stranded, no refunds, Zephyr's staff disappearing with everyone's payments. The irony was perfect. Jasper had spent months preaching that material attachments were illusions, and now all he had was a duffel bag and a very real hotel bill. He begged for $2,000 for a return flight. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the file I'd started, the case of Jasper Wynn. Everything was there. The fraudulent credit card application with my signature forged, the marketplace listings for my things, screenshots of his manifestation plan notebook. I went to the local precinct with 2 folders, one for identity theft, one for property theft. The officer glanced at the documents and said, "You're not the first person to get spiritually catfished." Filing the report felt like finally exhaling after holding my breath for years. I also froze my credit with all 3 bureaus and disputed every fraudulent charge. It wasn't revenge, it was closure on paper. A week later, I got a message from Moonbeam of all people. Subject line, Emergency Sisterhood Update. Jasper's been arrested. Can you send a statement confirming his innocence? The Bali police don't understand divine energy exchange. I didn't answer, but I looked up local news. There it was, buried in a travel safety forum. American self-proclaimed coach detained for fraudulent chakra readings. Apparently, Jasper had decided to start a new business. Awakened with Jasper, transform your reality. His first client, a German tourist, had paid $50 for a beach chakra reading. Jasper told him his root chakra was critically blocked and required a $2,000 emergency transfer for a healing intensive. The tourist turned out to be an undercover cop. They held Jasper for 48 hours and gave him 7 days to leave the country. Problem: no money, no flight, no backup plan. He sent another email, stripped of spiritual jargon this time. Please, I'm scared. I made mistakes. I could die here. I stared at it for a long time, then clicked archive. 3 days later, his mother called me. Evelyn, this is Carol. I know it's not your problem anymore, but he's in trouble. He's been in trouble, I said gently. He maxed out my card before he left. $8,000. Said you'd pay it back. I'm not paying for his karma. She sighed, half anger, half exhaustion. I might file a police report too. Do it, I said. You'll sleep better. Meanwhile, online investigators, former retreat attendees, had created a group chat called Zephyr Survivors. 12 people had been scammed. Together they tracked Kyle Morrison, the fake guru, to a villa near Canggu. The thread read like a noir comedy, screenshots, sightings, finally a photo of Kyle handing over refund envelopes under police supervision. Each victim got their money back, including Jasper, except the authorities froze his $15,000 refund pending investigation. He begged to use part of it for airfare and eventually bought a one-way ticket home for $2,000. He landed on a Tuesday, was arrested Wednesday. The arraignment was chaos disguised as ceremony. Jasper showed up in white linen, layered with crystals, and introduced himself as a sovereign being of light. The judge didn't blink. The state of New York disagrees, she said dryly, setting bail at $10,000. His mother posted it, but with conditions: move back home, get a real job, pay her back, and sign a written confession for the credit card fraud so he couldn't claim innocence later. Meanwhile, the spiritual community that had once hailed him as high vibrational turned fast. Moonbeam discovered Jasper had been sleeping with her boyfriend during Tantra workshops. Another woman found out the $500 Moldavite she bought from him was actually green glass. The Facebook group Jasper Blocked My Chakras appeared within days. 47 members and counting. 2 months later, a letter arrived from a public defender. Jasper wanted me to write a character reference for his sentencing. We shared a journey. Despite everything, you know my heart is pure. My lawyer asked if I wanted to respond. I said, yes, tell them, no, it isn't pure, it's fraudulent. Then I went for a walk outside, the air crisp and unperfumed by sage, and realized I hadn't heard a single gong in months. It sounded like freedom. When the verdict finally came, it wasn't thunder, it was paperwork. Jasper pleaded guilty to 4 charges: credit card fraud, property theft, wire fraud, and practicing therapy without a license. The judge read the sentence in the same calm tone you'd use to list grocery items. 3 years probation, $19,000, restitution, $5,000 in fines, 200 hours of community service. Banned from crowdfunding or selling spiritual services. No international travel. He tried to speak, to explain that he was on a journey, that this was part of his karmic cycle, but the judge silenced him with one line. Mr. Wynn, your journey has become a criminal enterprise. His mother cried quietly in the back row. I didn't. 2 months later, news broke that Zephyr, aka Kyle Morrison, had been arrested by Balinese authorities and extradited to the U.S. for international wire fraud. The guru who taught Jasper to scam others had been scamming everyone all along. 12 victims, 6 countries, millions in unreported funds. Ironically, Jasper was called as a witness in the case. His plea deal required testimony. The man who once quoted enlightened silence now had to speak on record about forged bank transfers and fake enlightenment courses. Moonbeam live-streamed outside the courthouse holding a cardboard sign, "Accountability is Ascension." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. 3 weeks before the Zephyr trial, I got another message. Subject: we're both victims. Eve, I know you're angry, but we were both scammed. I was vulnerable, searching for meaning. You could have supported me instead of abandoning me in a foreign country. I manifested this message reaching your heart. Please remember who I really was. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a 2-word note. Still delusional. Handle. Then I deleted the entire Jasper folder from my inbox. The cloud could keep the ghosts. It's been 9 months now. My apartment smells like cedar and coffee instead of sage and debt. The nights are silent. No gongs. No lectures about vibrational frequencies. No unpaid bills hidden under incense holders. I even got back my old signed baseball. Found it at a pawn shop, still in its case, still mine. My credit recovered. My peace did too. And life, in its ironic generosity, introduced me to Rowan Pierce, a licensed therapist who calls crystals pretty rocks and meditation a nap with ambiance. He doesn't talk about abundance. He talks about boundaries. I like boundaries. They don't cost $15,000. Sometimes, when I walk past the crystal shop where Moonbeam now works, I see a photo behind the counter of their old crew at a festival, Jasper's face covered with a sticky note labeled, "Banned, do not serve." I used to feel pity. Now I just feel distance. The universe really did provide, just not how he expected. So here's my advice. For anyone listening, anyone orbiting a person who hides manipulation behind mindfulness, document everything, file the reports, protect your credit, your peace, and your reality. If someone needs $15,000 to find themselves, they're probably just trying to lose you. Peace out, and may your abundance be fraud-free.